Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is Bloomberg Businessweek Daily, reporting from the magazine that helps global leaders stay ahead, with insight on the people, companies, and trends shaping today's complex economy, plus global business, finance, and tech news as it happens. The Bloomberg Businessweek Daily podcast with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, we've got a really great guest. We want to get right to him. RJ Scaringe is with us. He's, of course, head of the $16 billion market cap automaker. We're talking about Rivian. We talk about this company all the time. With us at Bloomberg Tech Summit here in San Francisco. And we have Ed Ludlow, a member of our team, co-host of Bloomberg Technology, and who knows this company so well. Hey, one thing I want to start with, RJ, is there's a lot going on today. The bromance in the White House between Elon and Donald Trump. It seems like it's over. And it's not going well. So I'm just curious, have you been able to kind of win market share or anything as a result of kind of Elon's position at Doge? And I'm just curious how it might play out here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd just say
anti-Tesla mode.
Yeah, I think in general, it's the thing that's been surprising is just how politicized a lot of things have become. So electric vehicles become politicized, specific brands within the electric vehicle space are politicized. And so what we've tried to do as a brand really focused on is to focus on what we stand for, the products, their attributes, and you know, there's a famous Michael Jordan quote, which is, we have Republicans, he said, Republicans and Democrats both buy Nikes. And it's the same thing with Rivian. So I'll go to Rivian events. I was just in New York yesterday. And yeah, it's such a beautiful mix of backgrounds, perspectives, cultures that are drawn to what we're building as a brand.
Right.
And we're about to launch what we call our R2, which is a lower priced vehicle. It starts at $45,000. And that product will even, broaden the aperture even more. And so
I think what Carol's asking is if there's net positive effect for you from this environment on sales and pre-orders.
So
I think
that's what she was asking.
I think that you're benefiting from this environment.
The anti-Tesla movement, have you benefited from it?
I think there are a lot of customers who are looking for a brand that they want to connect with. So we're seeing that for sure.
Yeah, sort of on that, thinking about the politics of this, rare earths. I mean, you and the team have been really clear that you've been working to educate the Trump administration when it comes to the complexities around processing rare earths here in the U.S. We did hear from the president earlier today after a call with President Xi Jinping. He said there should no longer be any questions respecting the complexity of rare earths products. Are you still concerned about accessibility to rare earths?
Well, first I'd say I appreciate that the administration recognizes this as an issue. That's important. And I think that we've done a lot of work and spent a lot of time with the administration on this topic. I think this is perhaps one of the biggest topics surrounding the trade tensions with China. It's well documented that a vast majority of the world's processing for these rare earth metals happens in China. So this is something that we're going to continue to be very focused on, continue to have concerns about until we start to see it really move.
What's your backup plan?
We have many backup plans.
If you can't get access to these rare earths for some reason over an extended period of time, which are essential in making EVs and batteries, what do you do?
So what we've done, what we've spent time on over the last several months, is to build alternative supply chains, but they're not elegant because they're not set up for scale, and a lot of people beyond us are also trying to build these alternative supply chains. So I think the hope is that in the short to medium term we see this open back up, and I think in the long term we're probably going to see both investment into building rare earth capacity outside of China, and then innovation to remove rare earths from products. So if you take in an electric vehicle, the reason this is so important is the motors use permanent magnets, and the permanent magnets have rare earth metals. Things like dysprosium, all those things on the periodic table that we forget they're on there. But those rare earth metals are needed in the magnets, but you can create an electromagnet to power the rotor. The rotor's the spinning part of the motor, but then you've got to get power to the rotor. So that you can do it with a brush, you can do it with induction. So it's a more complex motor product, but it does remove the complexity of global trade around rare earths.
But is that a little time away?
Yeah, it's not, you can't flip your design overnight, but I would say I think a lot of the auto industry is going to start finding innovative ways that are perhaps maybe a little more expensive, that reduce the reliance on rare earths.
People wonder how nimble you are, though. Like, do you remember when we first met 7 years ago? With respect, your suppliers really wouldn't engage with you because of scale.
Yeah.
So, if you have had to pivot a little bit because of policy, particularly for planning for R2, have you been able to A, get your suppliers to listen to you, and B, affect a change? What's changed?
I mean, we've talked about this a lot. I mean, our relationship with suppliers, the leverage we have with those suppliers is so much stronger today with R2 and what's to come than what we had, in 2019 or 2020, even 2018. But I'd say the thing that's really helpful for us in R2 is it's not as if this is a surprise. We saw, if you going into summer of last year, we saw some of these tensions already rising between the United States and China. And that was as we were planning for and sourcing R2. So we contemplated and in many ways anticipated a lot of these situations we're now dealing with in terms of tariffs, in terms of trade restrictions happening. So in the medium to long term, we're pretty well covered. In the short to medium term, if things get shut off, that's really challenging. And so that's where I think the rare earth challenge is, that if this happens where it's off, it just creates a lot of pressure on a very thin non-China supply chain.
I still think there's a lot of interest in Rivian. What I hear is there's also a lot of interest in Orso, your micromobility spin-off. Would you consider kind of de-risking yourselves a little bit by allowing outside investors to write you a check into that venture and get you some capital or de-risk your own balance sheet in that respect?
Yeah, so we spun this micromobility portion of Rivian out, and we actually raised outside capital. So we brought $105 million in at the start of the year.
Which is from Eclipse.
Which is from Eclipse, exactly.
Right.
And so it's now independently financed from Rivian. And it's it's a really exciting set of products. We're going to show those products in the fall.
But would the venture look at even further outside capital to get going a little bit?
We could. But we're really happy with where it is. It's exciting to build a new business with the strength of all the Rivian technologies is starting.
Right.
I saved 30 seconds at the end to wrap up our show. With everything that's going on from the administration kind of pushback, it feels like, against alternative energy and EVs, do you think it's a real setback, or things will keep moving? And forgive me, it's just about 30 seconds.
30 seconds. All right.
Go.
Look, I think there's a lot of noise in the short term, but the end state is still really clear. The world's going to electrify. We're going to move towards sustainable, carbon-neutral transportation. And the countries and the businesses that focus on that future state are the ones that are going to be participants in the long term. And so, we talk about this often with the administration, which is the importance of U.S. companies having technical leadership, production capacity around these areas, and make sure we're there.
You did it. 30. Thank you so much. Great way for us to wrap up this hour. RJ Scaringe, thank you. Of course, of Rivian, and of course, our Ed Ludlow.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Businessweek Daily podcast. Catch us live weekday afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern. Listen on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. Or watch us live on YouTube.
All right, folks, got to say that one of the things we are talking about a lot today is kind of the back and forth that's going on between President Trump and Elon Musk. It's a battle on social media, and I will just say it's almost hard to keep up with the amount of tweets that are going back and forth. What we do know, and what we know the Bloomberg universe cares about, is that Tesla shares are now down about 16%. Now, one of the key things is the president has basically said one of the ways to save money is cut back on the contracts that are given to all of the entities that are within the Elon Musk universe. I will say, here's one tweet. Elon Musk asking, is it time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle? Yes or no? So he's putting out a little poll. There's a lot of back and forth, and you can certainly find it on the Bloomberg. We wanted to get to our own Ed Ludlow to talk a little bit about kind of this back and forth of two that seem so intertwined and so getting along, and then all of a sudden it feels very different.
So Ed Ludlow, I think for me there was this realization over the weekend that Jared Isaacman wasn't going to be running NASA.
Right.
And to a lot of people, and you reported on this a lot over the last few months, to a lot of people in the industry, in Silicon Valley, but also who are in the space industry, said, this is a really good nomination.
Yeah.
Regardless of what his history has been, he knows what to do when it comes to space. He's been to space. He has a relationship with Elon. He has a relationship with SpaceX. he knows this. He knows the industry.
Makes sense.
It was pulled over the weekend.
Yeah.
Was that the beginning of the end of this relationship?
I think we should go through all of Elon's public and private companies and explain why this is happening and why it's happened so quickly. But yes, what we were told by sources is that Sergio Gore, an official within the White House, waited until Musk's Doge tenure had ended. What has happened in the last few hours is the president has said that Musk left Doge because he was asked by the president to leave. I'm tallying all of this together in real time.
He had to leave at a certain point because of his designation as a special government employee,
which is capped at a certain number of days anyway. But we're just going off what is said publicly by the President of the United States. When Musk left Doge, Sergio Gore, this official, as our sources explained it to us, and others within the White House, basically, who are not fans of Elon Musk, saw Jared Isaacman as being closely associated with Elon Musk. We can get into that, and moved to influence the president to cancel that nomination. The White House is officially saying that and citing Jared Isaacman's historic affiliation with the Democratic Party, as well as donations to him.
Right.
That's a SpaceX relationship we're talking about.
Well, and we should note that there have been other people within the Trump administration, and indeed President Trump himself, who in the past has donated to Democrats as well.
Sure.
He talked about that when he ran for president in 2016.
Jared Isaacman went to space twice. He funded those activities himself, but through a financial transaction with SpaceX.
Yeah.
We should talk about Tesla, which is the public proxy for what's happening.
It's getting crushed right now.
What you need to know is that SpaceX, since the year 2000,
down about
has had
16%.
Tesla is down, and I think at one point in the session was down 18%, on track for its biggest drop intraday in 4 years. Like, this is serious stuff. SpaceX and Tesla, over the last 25 years, have had about $25 billion in government subsidies, grants, contracts, including in SpaceX's context with the defense apparatus of this country.
Right.
And what the president has said, I've got the quote if you allow me to pull it up,
Please.
is the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it.
Oh, well, Ed, I'll pose the question to you. Maybe Biden didn't do it because SpaceX was the only game out there.
SpaceX is the only game out there commercially insofar as it dominates the vast majority of payload, human and non-human, from Earth into space. And I go back to the point that it is not just grants that NASA issues for development, but contracts with the defense apparatus of this country.
Could Peter Beck's Rocket Lab step in right now? Is it an opportunity for him?
Honestly, they are increasing the cadence of their launch, but the point is that when you are a contractor that serves the government, there are regulatory and contractual baselines, ITAR rules, all of these things that you have to satisfy. Elon, as you and I have talked about this over many years, he has security clearance as part of his role as the chief executive officer of SpaceX. This is so fast moving. All I'm doing is summarizing what the president has said today, which is the reason Tesla's down is the association. There is now a negative association of Elon Musk with the president. Previously, that relationship supported the stock. In the private company's context, the president is saying that he's going to rip up the contracts that company has with America. This is what's happening in real time. Sorry.
No, I think, it's just amazing kind of how the narrative, the relationship, thinking that it would be good for EVs, right, initially, and it would be good potentially for everything that Elon touches, and we're seeing it's not necessarily playing out like that.
What I reported last Friday is that Elon Musk and some of his staff have themselves been phoning lawmakers in this country to lobby on the passage of 2 pieces of legislation that are going through Congress on autonomous driving, to have language and content of those bills help Tesla with its longer-term ambition to have a future where they have a robotaxi service. This is also happening in the background.
Look, it's a little bit of a political question, Ed, but bear with me because there's a connection to Silicon Valley here. Elon Musk, in the months leading up to the election, was really able to gather support of a lot of folks who traditionally supported Democrats. Some folks such as
Elon Musk previously supported Democrats.
Exactly. So, Mark Andreessen, for example, who's been pro-Trump lately. David Sachs, who serves as AI and crypto czar. Yeah. There's a splintering happening right here, and I'm wondering if there are going to be repercussions that go beyond Elon Musk and start to affect a different contingency.
I believe that also in the last 12 hours, at some point, Elon Musk has also posted that he was very helpful to the president in the campaign.
Oh, yeah.
In getting that non-traditional Trump base to vote for the president. This is what Elon Musk said. I'm just saying, I'm trying to condense his own posts.
No, you're right. He absolutely said this in the last few hours. Trump wouldn't have won without me, he said. And he also said that Democrats would have controlled the Senate if he didn't get behind Republicans. Well, I guess we're really seeing the power in how this plays out.
Yeah, and look, to Elon Musk's credit, he has been consistent in saying, I cannot influence the president on policy. So let's take, for example, tariffs. Elon Musk was pretty clear on the last earnings call. He does not believe in the level of tariffs that the Trump administration at that time were trying to put in place. Because, of course, if you're an automaker and you're moving products across borders and that's subject to tariffs, that's not good for your top nor bottom line. But he has said that I don't agree with the president on everything. What has changed? And if you're listening to this program and tuning in for the first time, there are posts on social media in both directions where the President of the United States, his relationship with Elon Musk has rapidly deteriorated in a matter of hours.
Stock now down just under 14%, just 20 seconds.
I'm going to get in trouble with TV.
Does this put more pressure on Elon?
Of course it puts more pressure on Elon, because Elon is the CEO of a public company and several private companies that lead fields in America and the world.
All right, run to TV.
You gotta go.
Go.
Thank you for hanging out with us.
He's in demand. Our Ed Ludlow, of course, co-host of Bloomberg Technology.
This is the Bloomberg Businessweek Daily Podcast. Listen live each weekday starting at 2 p.m. Eastern on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. You can also listen live on Amazon Alexa from our flagship New York station. Just say, Alexa, play Bloomberg 1130.
Robots in warehouses doing repetitive tasks that humans now do, but doing them better and not getting injured. Carol, it sounds like the stuff of the future, but Agility Robotics is one of the few companies that's doing this right now.
Yeah, they really are. Check this out. It's got 5'9" robots working at a warehouse containing products made by Spanx. It has technology and testing at Amazon.com facilities. And that really makes Agility really one of the few humanoid bot companies with machines currently performing useful tasks for customers. If you were wondering if it's happening, folks, it's happening.
Peggy is the former CEO of the augmented reality tech firm Magic Leap. She's held senior roles at Microsoft and Qualcomm. She joins us here in San Francisco at the Bloomberg Tech Summit. Welcome. It's been reported that companies are testing Digit, your humanoid robot. It's what we're talking about. When will it go beyond testing, though, to actually scale? Apparently, there are only about 100 of these that are out in the field right now.
Well, we have gone beyond testing. We are actually commercially deployed as of 1 year ago today, actually, in GXO facilities, which is a third-party logistics provider who sends Spanx out.
You know Mr. Jacobs well at this point.
We do.
So, how many are out there in the field?
Right now, there's a handful of them, but they're getting ready to scale.
More than 100?
Oh, total, we have about 100 out in the field that the company has made. But at GXO, we have a handful of those, but they're looking at next steps on how to scale that beyond that facility.
Peggy, is it all about logistics, at least for the beginning and for a long time? I'm just curious how this explodes.
Yeah, that was the right entry point for a couple of reasons. One is the robot is capable of doing that today. It was made for work. It can pick up heavy containers, even if things are rolling around in it, and still be stable and set it down. It can move things from A to B over and over and over again. Logistics happens to be an area where there's a huge labor gap. These are challenging jobs, very physically challenging. They have repetition. They're a little bit mind-numbing. They're just hard jobs, cause a lot of injuries and things. Hard to fill these jobs. So because of that demand, we are able to bring our robots in.
How expensive are they, and how quickly? It kind of make sense on a financial basis?
You don't have to pay for their health care.
That's true.
You don't have to pay their salaries.
That is so right.
I'm just throwing it out there.
There's no vacation time.
They never
although
fight
there is maintenance.
They don't fight with each other.
Yet. You haven't seen Terminator, I guess.
Exactly. No, but seriously, how much do they cost? And for a company, how quickly does it make sense?
Yeah, right now we talk about them in the range, very low volume of, say, a luxury vehicle. But that's coming down very, very quickly with volume. We believe we have line of sight to about 25K, 30K for these industrial robots. We'll be in that environment for a while now before, say, we get into the homes, where I think the price is going to have to come down much, much further.
The big risk that, by the way, we're speaking with Peggy Johnson, CEO of Agility Robotics. If it's getting a little loud for folks, it's just because it's lunchtime here, and we got a lot of folks lining up behind us. Peggy, the sort of golden goose with this stuff is working alongside humans in a way that's not at a risk to the health of the humans, where a robot's not going to like bump them and hurt them. How do you do that? Because that seems to be something that is really, really challenging.
It is super challenging.
These guys got to work alone
humanoid
right now.
Exactly. They have to today work inside of a work cell, which are these gates that go up about waist high. It keeps humans back. Because
it keeps humans back and not robots caged?
Yeah, right. Because they're very curious.
You know how I'm thinking about this.
They're very curious. Humans want to get in there and see them. So it keeps humans back. But the robots themselves are human-sized, and sometimes they fall, they trip, or things just like humans do. And so you have to be able to handle those situations in a very controlled manner. Sometimes they're carrying 50 pounds of weight. That has to be something that you bring the robot down in a very controlled way so that no one gets hurt. You don't want an arm coming around. How do you do that? Super challenging. We figured it out at Agility, and we'll be demoing that before the end of the year. It's called cooperative safety. Okay. We can be around humans.
You know, one thing that I've learned over the last few months is that China is doing this really, really well. We have reports that there's a higher density of robots per human on Chinese factory floors than here in the US and then here in Japan. A source featured in a Bloomberg story just a couple weeks ago said there are 50 or 60 companies in China he thinks working on humanoid development now. Are we behind?
I would say yes and no. They do have a plethora of robots out there. Some of what is termed humanoids aren't actually. I mean, humanoids usually have 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. Some of them are simple robot arms and things like that. So if we separate those out and say, just what are the humanoids doing, there's very few that we see doing real heavy industrial work. Oftentimes, it's very lightweight. It's only a handful of skills. I think from an innovation standpoint, the U.S. is still ahead of China in this area.
Okay.
Well, so wait a minute. So, because I think we think about like the automation part that China has done really, really well. But you're saying with humanoids, you think the U.S. is ahead?
I think we are still ahead. We have not seen, first of all, safety incorporated in their humanoids. You must have safe humanoids. You cannot let them out of the work cell where the big markets are without that. You need an E-stop, for instance, an emergency stop on the back. You need to hit that if something goes wrong. It's just like an electronic vehicle.
Can I get one for this?
They do have that in The Wild Robot, the best-selling children's book.
Well,
they do.
Okay, see, they're ahead.
They are ahead.
So I am curious about oversight, though. What is the capacity for someone to go in and affect a program? Like, how does it work? Once a humanoid is out there, are they completely independent? Or is there some oversight? Like, how does this work?
So a couple things. We are actually working with the U.S. government on the standards for humanoids. None exist right now. They need to exist.
Who do you work with on that?
We work with a group called A3, and they then input the results of that into folks like OSHA.
Part of defense? Oh, no.
Would it go under David Sachs at all? In his AI czar role, in his crypto
role? It will probably cross paths with David at some point.
All right, so continue. So what else? So you're working on these standards.
You need that. But we've taken safety seriously from day one. Because of the power in these machines, you have to take it seriously. If something should happen, you don't want an arm to fling around and knock you over and do perhaps more damage. So that, and also the data on it, has to stay very protected. Just like anything in a corporate IT infrastructure, you've got to keep the data protected. So we think of all of those things in a combination.
Are they using data from the cloud? Do they have their own on-site, on-premise?
Both. We have quite a bit of compute on the robot itself, and we're also connected to the cloud. We need to step into an enterprise environment. So we have to plug into their warehouse management systems. We have to talk to the other types of robots, like autonomous mobile carts and conveyor belts. Those are all types of automation. And we have to talk to all of those in order to work safely in that environment. And, by the way, to take over those tasks that they can't find humans for, we have to be able to plug in as if it was a human.
You're not the only one here in the U.S. who's working on this. I don't know if you saw Brett Adcock from Figure AI was here.
Yeah.
They're also working on humanoids. How does your robot differ from Brett's?
Well, we're here today with our robot who will walk autonomously onto the stage today and upon my input will execute on my commands. So that's one big difference.
And it sounds like the Figure AI robot does not do that at this point?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
It possibly
Has
might,
anyone
but I haven't
seen it?
seen it. I don't know.
Okay.
I couldn't. You could ask Brett.
Well, we could do, Carol, do you remember that show many years ago? This is like when I was a kid. BattleBots, where they had like remote control cars, robots that would like violently attack each other. I could see like a little cage match between.
Actually, you've seen some video over in China of like different robots kind of doing that.
Digit and like a Figure AI robot.
Yeah, we actually have really taken a stand that we would never arm our general purpose robots.
Oh, that's good to know.
We need to have trust. We first and foremost have to have trust with the humans. So we won't arm them.
Just the fact that she has to say that, I think, is a story.
No, it is a story. Like I'm thinking, we just talked about drones in terms of how that's impacting warfare, and I just think about all this stuff getting into the wrong hands. Like, how do we control that?
Well, we've already seen some of that out of China. You see armed humanoids in videos and things. I think the U.S. has to have a response to that, obviously, and that they should have that kind of tech.
Right.
My point is our current general purpose robots are not meant for that at all.
Okay.
And because we need to build trust in the environment.
Will you rule out ever using your robots for security purposes?
I mean, we'd never rule that out. I just want to make it very clear that what we have today is not meant for that. And you do see videos of that coming out of general purpose robots in China.
Yeah, I will say that.
And that is terrifying.
What we've read, startups are doing trials in China from sorting garbage, delivering medicines in nursing homes. They're thinking about using these for elder care, but also patrolling the streets alongside police officers. And on the other hand, guiding museum tours.
Yeah. Those are all great use cases.
Patrolling is a great use case?
I think it is, because you're putting a human in harm's way every time a policeman walks out onto the street. I think better to have a robot. I think but
it doesn't have to be armed.
It doesn't. Yeah, it better in a hazardous situation. There's been some sort of nuclear problem. Send a robot in. Don't send in humans.
I want to ask you. Citi recently projected that the market for the machines, humanoids, and related services will surge to about $7 trillion by 2050, and the world could be populated by 648 million human-like bots by then. What might that world look like? Take us there.
Well, I think that world doesn't happen first until there's safety. So we have to show that these robots can be side by side with humans in a very safe manner. But then you should think of it as a tool in the same way farmers used to plow fields with oxen, and now they have machines that do it. This will be a tool that will give you choice. Some people might want to use their robot to cook. You might enjoy cooking. You say, no, just do the laundry for me. So that is, you could think of it as giving you choice to take manual labor off your hands.
So we could have, every household has their own humanoid robot to do tasks. Like it'll be affordable.
I would save 2 hours a night.
Right?
With stuff that I do every day.
But I mean, you could see every household having one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, funding, how you're thinking about the business. The information reported just a couple months ago in March that you're raising $400 million at a pre-investment valuation of $1.75 billion. Can you give us an update? Has that round closed?
That is ongoing, and the funds will be used to make our next generation robot, which is going to be awesome. It's going to have a 10-to-1 work-to-charge ratio on batteries, which means 100 minutes of work, 10 minutes of charge, it's back out there on the floor again. It can take full shifts. It's going to be amazing.
How many more rounds, just 10 seconds, how many more rounds of financing do you foresee?
I think this is it.
All right.
Cool stuff.
Did in less than 10 seconds.
I love it. I love it. Peggy, such cool stuff. So glad we could get some time with you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Peggy Johnson, CEO of Agility Robotics.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Businessweek Daily Podcast. Catch us live weekday afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern. Listen on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. Or watch us live on YouTube.
Hey, listen, very much to a part of our world today. We've got a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast. Great Chat, though, is a new one that debuted, I think, about 3 months ago. Episodes include conversations that can kind of go in a lot of places. LLMs, AI maybe taking our jobs, the best place to do a startup. That's as likely to be heard as our hoarding eggs, Forever 21's demise, and also views on the new Pope.
We've got with us here at the Bloomberg Tech 25, Ashley Mayer, co-host of the Great Chat podcast. Ashley, co-founder and general partner at the early venture firm Coalition Operators. Last night, she was joined by her co-host, Helen Min, who's a venture partner at True Ventures and also has done time Carol at Plaid Dropbox and the company formerly known as Facebook.
Tell us about this podcast, because my understanding, I think it was a LinkedIn post that you guys talked about, I think you did, that it was like a feisty dinner and all of a sudden here we got to a podcast. Tell us about what you guys were thinking and the mission here.
Yeah, I mean, be careful before you go to a dinner with a group of friends because you might end up starting a podcast. The five of us had a dinner last fall. It was a fun, feisty conversation about the tech industry, and we joked at that dinner, maybe we should have a podcast. There are so many podcasts that are, more news-driven, more informational, have guests. But we sort of thought that maybe a more conversational format was good. And so that podcast turned into a group chat, and that group chat turned into a podcast, and Great Chat was born.
Can I say it almost felt like Sex in the City for the tech world, a little bit, because you guys will cover a lot of what's going on in the world more generally, but then you'll talk about, some executive moving to Meta or something, and you kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it.
Sex in the City for nerds, maybe. And I think what we try to do is demystify a lot of the headlines everyone's seeing. I mean, the five of us have worked in tech our whole careers as investors, operators, founders. My co-host Sally has been in media herself. And so we try to break down like the biggest headlines, the biggest topics in tech and make them accessible, especially to a younger generation of people coming into this industry.
You guys are venture capitalists, so you understand that things need to make money eventually.
Yes.
We're in a world where anyone can do a podcast, so there's a big difference between sort of the Caller Daddies and Joe Rogans of the world and then the newer entrants that don't necessarily have the traction. Is this right now making money is the goal for it to make money?
No, not currently, although, never say never. We're very much in scrappy mode. We're really doing this from a place of we saw a gap in the ecosystem, and if I'm going to be a little feisty here myself, we found one of the few areas of white space in tech commentary, which is that we're all women. And we felt like a lot of the biggest voices in the tech industry were very loud, very prominent, often billionaire men, and we thought maybe we could bring a different lens.
You're not
to
saying
it.
any names, but I think I know who you're talking about.
There may be a podcast. It's a group of 4 men who are very loud. And
I did watch Mountainhead.
It sounds like Milan.
On HBO. I don't know if you watched Mountainhead on HBO. I'm just throwing it out there.
Fun fact, I worked for one of those podcast hosts back in the day.
What did you learn?
Well, I learned the power of narrative. And the stories we tell each other and ourselves about our industry determine who gets funded, who gets the benefit of the doubt, where top talent goes, and this stuff really matters.
But it's so indicative of how many conversations have we had about women in tech, and specifically female-founded companies just fighting for capital and to get recognized. Why is that still a problem? And how can you guys use your format and your platform to maybe help that?
Yeah.
And also as venture capitalists in your own right.
Totally. And I mean, I'm an emerging fund manager myself. I have to raise money for my fund. And so it's very much a thing. Listen, I think just having examples of people who are maybe underrepresented, who are visible, who are doing the thing and putting ourselves out there.
Right.
I mean, we're very much in this like anti-DEI era, which comes with both, I think, some negative implications for how people are focusing their time and efforts. But at the end of the day, we all get to put our chips on the table and build things ourselves and elevate other people who are doing it.
Ashley, this pushback against DEI, pushback against women, pushback against anyone who maybe isn't just a white male born in America. That's kind of how it feels right now.
Yeah.
With your platform, are you afraid to speak out against that? I mean, because I think there is a lot of fear among leaders about, the White House either hearing something and not liking it. So tell me about that, and how does it make it also harder for you guys to raise money?
Yeah, I mean, I am at a small fund.
Yeah.
And so I'm not too worried about President Trump watching this interview and coming at me. And listen, I think at the end of the day, my job as an investor is to fund the very best founders I can find. I do super early stage investing, so it really is a bet on the founder. I don't have a diversity mandate. We never have at Coalition, but we have very diverse networks, the diverse pipeline of deals, and so we have a diverse portfolio. And in an ideal world, that's how it works, in my opinion, right? Versus having to have dedicated programs, specific sleeves of dollars going to early stage founders. I think that, as the venture ecosystem diversifies, the pool of founders who get capital will diversify as well.
I want to talk to you a little bit about what's exciting you in the tech space right now. Before we do that, Carol, you did mention, and Ashley, you mentioned it too, that the president going after different folks. I should bring everyone an update in the sort of relationship between Elon Musk and President Trump. The president putting out on Truth Social, quote, "Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy." So just a little bit of an update, the back and forth between the president and Elon Musk.
It is so over. It does feel...
We're going to talk to RJ Scaringe from Rivian in just a minute, so see if he has any commentary about that. Ashley, before we let you go, curious about what's exciting to you out there. We're not in an ecosystem in technology where venture capitalists are throwing money at app-based games or food delivery apps or that sort of thing right now. A lot of it's going into robotics, a lot of it's going into AI.
Yeah.
Where are you seeing the money go? What's exciting to you?
I mean, excited about a lot of the macro trends that other people are. I have a partner who is actively building a company in the AI space called Tribe AI. We see incredible AI deal flow from her, and she also sort of really has a real-time pulse on what the biggest AI platforms are doing, how enterprises are adopting. I have another partner who runs City Block Health, which is a massive healthcare startup. We're seeing incredible breakthroughs in the healthcare ecosystem, especially the intersection of health and AI. But at the highest level, I think there's never been a better time to be an emerging investor and an early stage investor, because so many things are changing about the world, right? From a technological perspective, the AI platform shift is really changing everything. From a regulatory perspective, I mean, it's a little bit of a wild west, but change is generally good for early stage startups. Culturally and from a media perspective, the way startups build their brands, go to market, find their customers is changing. And so that for me is so exciting. These moments of change are where the most opportunity comes from.
So 10 seconds in a world where everything feels so uncertain, you feel pretty confident.
I feel good. I mean, I think if you've built your career in the startup ecosystem, you're purpose-built for change, and there's never been a bigger period of change than the one we're in right now.
Ashley Mayer, she is co-founder and general partner of the early venture firm Coalition Operators, and she, along with Helen Min, are co-hosts at the Great Chat podcast.
This is the Bloomberg Businessweek Daily Podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Listen live weekday afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern on Bloomberg.com, the iHeartRadio app, TuneIn, and the Bloomberg Business app. You can also watch us live every weekday on YouTube and always on the Bloomberg Terminal.